Welcome, everybody. I think we are live. Wonderful. If you can hear and see us, please drop a message in the chat so that we know that we are reaching all of you on our different social media channels. I'm Kari Campbell with the Dog Gurus. Welcome to our weekly Facebook Live. For those of you who are not familiar with us, the Dog Gurus help pet care businesses launch, grow, and profit. We offer business coaching services as well as staff training programs. Speaking of business and training, we are hosting a live business breakthrough workshop in April in Denver, Colorado. This is a fantastic opportunity for you to come and join other industry professionals, as well as learn from the best of the best in the industry and enjoy a fabulous presentation by our keynote speaker, Amber Burkhalter. Amber has over 25 years of experience in the industry, and she will inspire you and your managers to focus on the benefits of a positive culture for pets and for your staff. Some of our sponsors that we have for this event are Blue-9 Products. We've got Pet Exec, Pet Vet, Destination Pet, Terwisha Construction, Sync Pet, Kinbolls, Canine Grass, Ginger, the Professional Animal Care Certification Council, Better Than Home, IBPSA, Run Loyal, and so many more. We are just thrilled to be able to bring you this, what we consider the pet care industry's top 3-day workshop this year. Tickets are on sale now, so we just have a few VIP tickets left as well. So if you're interested in those, I'm going to drop the link in the chat, and you can go and check out the information as well as purchase tickets right online. So put that in there for you. Fabulous. See if it pops. There we go. All right. Well, wonderful. I am super excited today because we have our good friend, Jamie Popper from Blue-9 Pet Products. And Jamie is a fantastic representative for the pet care industry. She is not only knowledgeable in the products that she represents, but she has a history of training and working with dogs individually. She's a certified pet dog trainer or professional dog trainer, knowledge assessed. And she also is a certified canine fitness trainer. So if you are familiar with the FitPaws equipment, that is a program that works closely with that. And Jamie, remind me, is that through the University of Tennessee is where a lot of the training goes through for the?
Yes. Yep. The Certified Canine Fitness Trainer program was through the University of Tennessee and Northeastern Seminars.
Fabulous. So anyway, well, we are super glad to have you here. I'm going to let you do a little more introduction for yourself. If there's anything else you want to share before we get started.
Sure. Yeah. So a little bit more about my background. I've been a certified canine fitness trainer for 5 or 6 years now, and I've been competing and training dogs for more than a decade. So some of the things that I like to do with my dogs are, of course, hiking and just enjoying them as pets, but we also compete in disc dog, competitive obedience and rally, and then we also do some dock diving in the summertime. So I keep my dogs really active, and as part of that, some of the things that I want to do with them is things that are designed to help prevent injuries, teach them some more of that body awareness, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today as part of the demonstration that we'll do. And we'll be using equipment from Blue-9 Pet Products. We'll be at that event in Denver, Colorado in April as well. But these products are used in pet boarding and daycare facilities across the world, actually. And so I'm excited to share a little bit more about how they can be used and what some of the benefits are inside of an enrichment program.
Awesome. I am so excited that you're here because, we've known each other for a while now, but yeah. I come from the layman background. I had an enrichment-based daycare program in Anchorage, Alaska for 18 years. And when we switched to all enrichment, we started using your products as well as the FitPaws products. And you don't have to be a professional dog trainer to use this. And I think that that's some of the things that people struggle with when they decide they want to add enrichment to their facilities is that they think that they have to have all of this extra knowledge. And sometimes it's just exposing the dogs to the equipment that is actually the enriching component. So I'm really excited to see the demonstrations that you're going to give us today. And if anybody has questions during the presentation and the demo, please drop those in the chat and we'd be happy to answer those for you. Jamie also has her fantastic dog Peek with her, who is an Australian Coolie, and she's just genius. So I'm always impressed when I see really high drive, intelligent dogs working, because I know that I am more of a lazy dog trainer, and I enjoy my Frenchie, who's pretty easy to train, but he doesn't take hours and hours of work. So I think we all have our levels of comfort, right?
Yes. It's so funny that you mentioned that, Kari, because about 15 minutes before we hopped on to do our light and sound check, Peek and I were outside playing a little bit of Frisbee to take the edge off. So she's laying down nice and quietly next to me. She'll rally for our little demonstration here in a few minutes, but otherwise she'd be spinning around in circles or pacing back behind me and distracting us if we hadn't taken the edge off of her a little bit. Yeah. And going back to what you were saying about thinking that you might have to have all of this extra knowledge or have a professional trainer on staff, no, we like to keep it really easy and simple and also safe for the dogs when we're doing these different enrichment activities. And I think that if we zoom out, sometimes we look at the skills and we say, oh, it's really hard to teach our dog to do this, or I'm not a trainer, so I can't get my dog to do that, train my dog to do that. But when we're thinking about enrichment activities, most of the enrichment activities that we're putting in front of our dogs are tapping into their natural instincts, and it doesn't really take any training whatsoever. Think about things like food puzzle toys. Our dogs, if they were out living in the wild, would be foraging and hunting and tearing apart carcasses in order to get the food and the energy requirements that they have. When we do food puzzle toys, we're just mimicking that and bringing in some of those natural instincts. Today, I'm going to talk about how to set up obstacle courses and what the benefits are. We'll focus primarily on puppies and senior dogs, but all dogs would benefit from the obstacle courses, but we'll talk about those particular ones. And for obstacle courses, those natural instincts that we're tying into are really just the dog's ability to move and cover ground, their natural instinct or inclination to seek a higher ground. So they like to climb on top of things and be able to survey their world. And all we're doing is giving them these manufactured obstacles in the form of equipment, and then asking them to navigate through it safely. And you'd be surprised at how mentally taxing that is in just a 3 to 5 minute session with the dogs.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to interrupt you just for a moment to share a funny story.
Yeah.
So I'm on vacation in Mexico right now. And before I left, I took my little Frenchie puppy, who just turned 9 months old, to a friend's house. She's going to watch him for the week while I'm down here. And we came in. He had never been to her house before. And I'm just kind of explaining his normal routine. And, he is a puppy. He has bursts of energy, but he's a Frenchie. So then he just kind of wants to snuggle up with you. While we were talking about all of this, he's just sniffing around her kitchen floor. And he probably did that for 5 minutes. And then I sat down with her in her living room, and he literally just passed out on the floor. And I'm like, all that dog did was engage his olfactory system and sniff for like 5 minutes, and it wiped him out. And I just told her, I said, you don't have to take him on really long walks. Really, he does better with mental stimulation than he does with physical exercise. So perfect example. You just engage some of that mental side for them, and they really do get tired faster than they do with physical exercise. So
yeah, I love that. And just to tie into that, I have a friend that lets her dog sniff her mail before she opens it as like an enrichment activity, because many people have handled it, the different places that it may have come from. And she also will bring a stick home from anywhere that she travels to when possible. So she's got different sticks that the dog gets to sniff and enjoy and play with safely, of course. We don't want them to impact themselves, all of that stuff, but it's under supervision. And so using that olfactory system to get them to sniff different things, and it's really just exposing them to something new. And these obstacle courses, not to be like pushy about this thing, but it is our topic for today. But obstacle courses, we can change up the obstacle courses that we create every week. So it's a new thing that our dog is having to navigate, even if they've become familiar with it. We can kind of switch it up so it's always something that's new or challenging for them.
the versatility of the Blue-9 products amaze me. So I'm excited to see what you have, and I will let you continue. And yeah, we'll see what we get from you.
Cool. All right. Well, let's jump in really quick. I want to talk a little bit about the benefits of doing obstacle courses with puppies or senior dogs, and then also a couple of safety considerations to keep in the back of your mind when you're building your obstacle courses or working with your dogs. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the equipment, and then I'll show you some of the different ways that I introduce the obstacle courses and ways that I can make it more challenging for the dogs, and that'll be part of our demo. So to start off with, puppies, what we care so much about when puppies come into our care is helping build confidence, helping them learn how to navigate their world with different structures underneath their feet or surfaces underneath their feet, and building that confidence. But it's also great for helping them learn how to use their bodies. So that proprioception, which is just a really fancy term for knowing where your body is at in space and time. So when we have our dogs walk across a balance beam, as an example, they have to be really thoughtful about where they're putting their paws at, and that helps them understand how to move their bodies in space and time. When we're working with our puppies, it's important that the structures that we build are not too tall. We don't want our dogs jumping anything more than ankle height down, and we don't want to have too many repetitive or concussive impacts on the dog. So think about that as you're building your structures. How big are the puppies that you're working with? And for the context of any exercise or physical things that we're asking our dogs to do, a puppy is a dog under 18 months old, or any dog that doesn't have their growth plates fully closed and fully developed. So that's what we're concerned about, is that if our dog's bones and joints aren't fully developed and they're consistently jumping down on a very regular basis, then they'll have the potential to damage their growth plates, which is something that we want to avoid. So for puppies, we don't want to do anything too repetitive, and we don't want them jumping down off of something that's higher or taller than ankle height. So we'll talk a little bit about some of the options that we have available with the equipment as far as height goes. Now, when it comes to seniors, what we like to think about is preserving functional movement. So when we're training our dogs, it's fun to have all of these fancy tricks like spin and twirl and leaping to catch a disc and doing their retrieves of their favorite toy. And as our dogs age, we want to think more about functional movements. What do our senior dogs need to be able to do in order to enjoy their life? Jump up onto the couch, stand up from laying down, eat cookies off of the ground. Those kinds of movement patterns are what we want to preserve in our dog and help them strengthen. And that's something that we can do with these obstacle courses. As far as safety goes for seniors, we want to make sure that everything that they're walking on is non-slip, and also that we're aware of how steady or responsive the dog is. So if they fall, if their limbs slip off of something, they may be slower to react to catch themselves than a younger adult dog would be. So we need to support them and make sure that the structures are safe as they are walking across them. I'm just double checking my note to make sure that I didn't miss something. Oh, so just be aware that they might be a little bit less sure or steady on their feet. So we want them to not slip, and we also want to be supportive if they have the likelihood of falling off of the equipment. Let's help support them as they're going through that obstacle course. Kari, anything that you want to add to our safety or benefits of doing obstacle courses for puppies or seniors?
Just that I totally agree with you on the engagement aspect with the seniors, and being sure, as you said, that they are stable on their feet and that they are not likely to slip or fall. But as we introduced this in my facility, I was so thrilled to see some of our senior dogs. It's almost like they came back to life, because we had dogs that were anywhere from 12 to 17 years in age, and they've been with us for a very long time. And I think at some point, pet parents almost, I don't want to say give up, but they just kind of realize, oh, they're aging, this is kind of life. They're going to sleep a lot more. But when we would see them come to daycare because they needed a place where they could, have access to go outside and go potty multiple times throughout the day and not be alone all day, or just not be sleeping all day, because sometimes that just kind of seizes them up and they become very stiff. They became so much more mentally engaged. And for us, it was like watching them be puppies again. And that aspect of it was so rewarding for us and the staff that were working with them. So yes, I think that, everything that you mentioned is fantastic. And I love engaging both puppies and seniors with the equipment.
Yeah. Kari, as we were talking before we went live, it reminded me, I used to teach Rue, my senior dog, he's going to be 13 in May. I used to teach him new tricks all the time. And as I got another dog, I started teaching her the skills that I needed her to know. And well, Rue just knows everything that I needed him to know. He's 13. I've taught him everything that I wanted him to know in his life. And so I wasn't doing as much training with him, but you're right. As soon as I pull out the treats or as soon as I pull out a piece of equipment, his eyes light up and he gets so excited to work again, because he used to do all of this stuff and I just haven't done it as much with him as I should. And it brings me so much joy, so much joy. So thank you for reminding me of that.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. Well, what I would like to do now is I want to show you a little bit more about the equipment that I have behind me and how I have it set up. So we're going to scratch my little stool I was sitting on, and we'll talk a little bit about, let's see if I can make this big. We'll talk a little bit about the equipment, and then you'll get to see Peak show off as well. So back here, what I have is an obstacle course set up with the Klimb dog training platform and the Propel air platform. And I did it this way to show some of the versatility of the equipment. So this one right here is set up as a wobble board. I think you can see that. It might be a little bit small on your screen. This one is set up as a wobble board, and the way that I did that was by putting 2 of our Klimb short legs just in the opposite corners, and that's what's going to make it wobble back and forth. It's only 6 inches tall, so this is perfectly safe for puppies. Up onto just a standard climb. And then this right here is one of our newer products. It's the Propel air platform, which is a piece of canine fitness equipment similar to some of the FitPaws stuff that you were mentioning earlier. It's inflatable. So the more air that you put in it, the less stable or the more challenging it becomes. And so it's something that the dogs have to balance and navigate on. So this one is a little bit more inflated, which is going to be more challenging. And this one right here, I've taken air out of so that I will cradle or nestle this one on top of it so that they're stacked and they're nice and safe and secure here. Moving on, another Propel on up to another Klimb. And then this one right here, I've got set up at an angle with the Propel on it as well. And that's just to show that the Klimb can be set at an angle and used kind of like a ramp for getting up and across some of the different pieces of equipment. So just to show some of the versatility, that's what we've got. So when we're doing these obstacle courses with our dogs, I like to break it down into 3 different steps. First, I just want the dog to be able to safely navigate the equipment going back and forth in a nice, slow, and controlled manner. The way that I can do that is by doing either a treat trail, so putting cookies on the equipment, letting the dog sniff all the way across, or if I've taught them a simple nose touch cue, then I can ask the dog to do the nose touch and kind of guide them through it. And I'll show you why we don't want to use a food lure. And that is because the dogs become so focused on the food that often they're not thinking about what their body is doing, and that can create some challenges. So I'll maybe show you that as the demo for the first bit to show you why we don't want that. And then we'll talk about how to increase the difficulty. Peak, do you want to come work a little bit? All right, so I'll show you if I use a food lure, this is what it looks like to get her started on the equipment. Can you get this cookie? Here, get that one. So if she is looking at the treat instead of what she's doing with her body, often she's like, I'm gonna make sure I'm paying attention. The dogs will slip over top of it if they get too excited about the food and they're not thinking about what their bodies are doing. Then they don't navigate the equipment as safely. I forgot, Peak doesn't get super excited about food to begin with, so she doesn't follow the food lure. That was a poor demo. So if you get a dog that's very excited about food and they're following that food lure, sometimes they're not thinking about what their paws are doing. And so that's why we don't want to just use a food lure in order to get them across the equipment. To get started, use that treat trail. So I'll show you that with Peek because she does know that one. Okay, so I can use my treat trail, putting a cookie on every couple of pieces of equipment for her to follow. And this is just her navigating the different pieces as our first step in order to get comfortable with it. Or I can ask for that nose touch cue. Yes, and give her a cookie for that. Yes. Yes, good girl. So now I can kind of slow her down and guide her through the pieces as I would like her to do them. All right, my next step or next level of difficulty, once the dog is comfortable with navigating the equipment, then I want to start asking for them to pause and hold a particular position on the equipment as we go through. So I might start off with, Peek, come. Good girl. I might start off with having her put just her front feet up here. You're going too fast. Here. Can you get that cookie? Here you go. So paw, touch, good. So just her 2 front feet up on this. And then maybe I'll ask her to do the same here. Yes. And here, so her rear limbs are on the Propel air platform, and I'm asking her to hold this position and balance that piece of equipment. Okay, and we'll go across here. Let's see if we can get you to stop here. Can you go back? Back it up. There, so stop with her rear feet up on the equipment and hold that nice and steady. Very good. Get that cookie. And then the third level of difficulty is if you have other behaviors that your dog knows how to do, like a sit or a down or shake a paw, we can ask them to do it at any of those pause points, depending on what skill you're asking them to do. So I might ask her to come across the equipment and maybe she'll do a sit here. Can you sit? And then stand. Good. So she knows how to do a sit. If you can teach that pretty easily with a food lure. Maybe I'll ask her to lie down here. Lie down and stand. Good. And then maybe up onto the climb. And can you do your twirl? Good. And your spin? Yeah, very nice. What about down here? Can you do the same trick here? Can you go twirl? Cheater, cheater. Ready? Twirl. Yes. Good girl. And spin. Yes, very nice. Even if she comes off of the equipment, I'm still going to reward her. She did a great job with that. So that is just a couple of different ways that we can ask our dogs to go across the equipment, use their bodies, and some ways that we can make it more difficult. To go back to what we were talking about with puppies and senior dogs, if you're doing this with puppies, the treat trail is a great way to slow them down. And then for senior dogs, you may want to have a harness on them or another way that you're able to help stabilize them if they do go to slip off of the equipment. Thankfully, this is only 12 inches tall, so they're not likely to hurt themselves on any of this, but being able to help your dog steady themselves as they're going across the equipment can certainly be a benefit. So yeah, that's a little bit about what I wanted to show, but would love to hear from Kari if she's got anything else to add or if any questions have come through.
I haven't seen any questions yet, but I do have a couple of either like comments or observations. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more.
Yeah.
When I zoomed in and it was just you on the screen, looking at the Propel products, do they have different tactile surfaces on either side?
They sure do. So let me actually bring one a little closer to camera and we'll show it off. So this right here, there we go, now it's in focus, is the Propel Air platform. Right here, we've got the nubbies on it. These are going to help stimulate the neuroreceptors in your dog's paws. They're nice and rounded, so most dogs don't have any challenges with this. But if you have a dog that is a little bit more sensitive or doesn't like weird surfaces underneath their paws, we do have a lower profile lined side, which most dogs are also comfortable with. They still have nice traction when they're on it, so they're not likely to slip off of it. And then this right here is how you can inflate or deflate it in order to increase or decrease the difficulty level for your dog. And then finally, I'll just point out, let's see, it's a little easier to see on this side. The Pro grid lines that we have built into it, these right here help with understanding whether or not the dog is standing balanced on the equipment. So it divides it in half vertically and horizontally so that you're able to determine whether or not the dog is balanced from left to right and front to back on the equipment. And then there's also connection pieces. So if you want to connect these to a Klimb platform or connect them to other Propel Air platforms, then you have even more added stability and safety in the equipment. Great question. So, I always forget to point out the features of the nubbies.
Yeah. And then looking at the Klimb platforms, you have how many different, so there's the flat level surface without any of the legs attached. And then there's 2 different leg heights. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. So you can use the Klimb without any legs installed, and that would be 4 inches tall. Or we have short legs, which give an overall height of 6 inches. And then, like I said, this right here is our traction mat. But like I said before, I set this one up like a wobble board. So there's a short leg here and a short leg here. And once I set that down, let's see, you'll still be able to see, yeah. Then it's going to wobble back and forth, which is a great confidence builder for puppies and teaching them how to navigate those unstable surfaces. Or it's also great if you have an agility dog and you want to work on teaching that 2 on, 2 off and getting them used to the teeter-totter motion. It's great for prepping sport dogs like that too.
Awesome.
And then you were mentioning the Klimb set up at an angle as well. So even more ways, even if you've only got 1 or 2 Klimb platforms, there's lots of different ways that you can configure them. If you only have 1 or 2 pieces of equipment, you can still set up an obstacle course. You just have to get a little bit more creative with the activities you have them do with just one or 2 pieces. So like one of my favorite things to do with this is teaching rear end awareness or what to do with your back feet. So if I have Peek come over this way, you get that cookie? I've taught her how to walk backward to the Klimb. You go back. Look at my perfectly well-trained dog. Let's take this one out of the equation. Here. This way. Can you go back feet? Good. Come here. Yes. So teaching them how to put their back feet on equipment. You can start with having them walk across it and then hang out in this position. And then luring them forward and off of it, and then prompting them to walk backward to it is another way that you can do it. But setting it up at an angle gives you some more of that flexibility and new ways to be able to use it.
So Jamie, I want to ask, because you are both a certified professional dog trainer as well as the certified canine fitness trainer. I know when I've done research on the FitPaws equipment and talking about kind of hind end or rear end awareness, why is that important, especially as dogs age?
It's really about teaching our dogs how to use their bodies the most effectively and the most efficiently. And so when the body awareness and the individual limb awareness, one of the best examples I can give is that if I am out on a hike with my dog and maybe they're walking across a log and one paw slips off of the log, if the dog has done some rear end awareness exercises or any other body awareness exercises, then they're going to understand how to engage that limb in order to stabilize themselves on the log and then safely finish navigating the obstacle. And so what that does, if they have that body awareness and that control, it helps prevent injuries from slipping off of the log, but it also helps with strengthening the muscles, so they're much less likely to become injured anyway.
Perfect. That's great. Yeah. Do you see that if you have met a dog that may be kind of middle-aged, if you will, and they are not that aware of their hind limbs, that you can do things even kind of in middle age to help them as they age?
Yeah, so thinking about the functional movements that we want our dogs to have as they age and what's the most challenging. Most dogs, more dogs than not, end up having arthritis in their hips. They slow down. The first place that many older dogs lose muscle tone is going to be in their rear limbs. And so our dogs end up compensating by overusing their forelimbs, which can then fatigue those muscles and create other injuries there. But if you look at an older dog, for example, they may put their paws up onto the couch and pull themselves up as they jump. And that just shows you that they're really not engaging their rear end. So as we have dogs that are moving into that senior age range, maybe before they've started showing signs of slowing down, if we can preserve the muscle that they have, or even strengthen and build the muscle that they have, they're going to have a much easier time as they continue to age, and maybe if arthritis develops or as their muscle tone starts to decrease, which is natural with a lot of older dogs. So absolutely working with adult dogs in order to teach them how to use their bodies effectively, but also just to make sure that they're still using and engaging those muscles that we want in order to strengthen them, so that we can keep those muscles, keep them moving as they age.
Awesome. That's great. So I just put Blue-9's website URL in the chat so people have your direct website, but you also gave me a link for a YouTube playlist. So tell me a little bit about what videos are there.
Yeah, so I wanted to have a resource that we were able to share after this live so that you were able to have a little bit of homework or another spot that you could go back to if you wanted to learn more. So I crafted this playlist a little bit earlier today. And what I did was I put pet boarding and daycare related resources in there. There's a little testimonial from our friend Ed Kazmarek at Urban Pooch in Chicago. So you can see the climbs in use inside of a facility and all of the other ways that they get used for enrichment. And then also in that playlist is some inspiration on some different canine fitness exercises you can do with just the Propel or just the Climb, or both of them combined together, including instructions on how to set up your Climb as a wobble board. So if you're looking for new, fresh ideas of ways to incorporate equipment into your enrichment program or new activities that you can do, that playlist is an excellent source of information.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to put that together for us.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else that you want to share as we hit our kind of 30-minute mark? Because you covered a whole lot, and the demo is always just so fantastic, because I think a lot of times business owners it's the visualization that they miss. It's like they have these ideas they want to do, but they're not sure how to implement it. And when you show us a demo that makes it very crystal clear on how we can work with this and how our staff don't necessarily have to be certified professional dog trainers in order to encourage dogs to do these activities, it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's so simple. I'm thrilled that I had the opportunity to join you and share this information. But you're right, it's so simple. Sometimes all it takes is seeing it in action and saying, oh, okay, here's the safety reminders that I need. And here's, step 1, step 2, step 3, as far as how to make it more challenging or less challenging for the dogs. What I love about this is that it's something that can be great for staff engagement. So the business owner doesn't need to be the one that's setting up the obstacle course. Let's delegate that to somebody and say, show me your most creative obstacle course, or build me something that is specific for the puppies that are coming in this week, and get really creative. And the staff love it because it's like playing with Legos and getting that ownership of like, I get to decide how this is set up. Gets a little bit more buy-in, and then they get more excited about actually doing the work with the dogs as well. So I love that about our equipment, that it's so flexible in how you can use it. So there's a lot more ownership from the staff standpoint of getting creative and being engaged with it.
Excellent. Yeah, I used to tell my staff, we are only limited by our own imaginations. And so often your staff are more creative and energetic than you are. So it's always really fun to see what they come up with every day when they're setting up the equipment. But I am also just going to drop back in the chat the link for the Business Breakthrough Workshop, which is in Denver, Colorado, April 9th, 10th, and 11th. Yeah, we're like 3 or 4 weeks out from it. Jamie will be there. She's going to be doing a demonstration at the actual live event. So if you have any questions, you can meet her in person. Are you bringing Peak and Rue, or just Peak? Or
just Peak? Just Peak. I'm going to be doing a lot of flying to get everywhere. There's a few other events around, so it'll just be Peak. But I'm so excited to have the opportunity to share her with everybody at the event.
She's amazing. So I always am in awe of people who love high drive intelligent dogs and are so willing to put the work into them. I was just always amazed by the dogs that we had in our facility, and it made me love my dumb, slow dog even more. So
Looking forward to that at some point in my life. I mean, Rue has slowed down quite a bit, and he's my cuddle buddy. So I've got that. Peak is the one that gets me out of bed in the morning and out onto the hiking trails every weekend. But it's nice just to have that little couch potato to snuggle up with sometimes too.
Absolutely. The other thing I'm going to post in the chat is our Facebook group, which is the Grow Your Pet Care Business Facebook group. It's free to join that. We just have 2 rules, and that is be kind to people and don't try to sell things. So I'm going to drop that in the chat as well. Jess Ocon, she's there. What does she say? There's some drivey Frenchies out there. Give those bowling balls with legs some credit. That's very true. I have to say, Jess, I haven't had a puppy in 22 years. So actually having a puppy and doing the training with him has been a real joy, because I have learned so much more in the 22-year span about dogs and having patience. And I have capitalized on some of his natural abilities, things that he just kept offering to me. And I turned into a shake, or, give a paw. I mean, it was just, he has just been such a joy to work with. So yes, there are some good Frenchies out there. So actually there's no bad dog, right?
There are no bad dogs.
They're all fantastic. It's just how much we choose to put into it that makes them even better. So, well, Jamie, thank you so very much for joining me today. It's just been a joy to see you again and to see Peak, and look forward to seeing you next month at the Business Breakthrough Workshop in Denver. And we will sign off for today. Thanks everybody for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.